I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about myself by answering 5 of the questions that I get most often. So, the first question that I usually get is, how did I become an intuitive? Or when did I know that I had these particular gifts? I knew I had these gifts around the age of 5. I knew that I was seeing things that spirits or entities that other people around me were not specifically seeing or particularly seeing. I also realized that I had a certain sensitivity and a knowingness that came from a place that was greater or part of me, but not me at the same time. So I've known for, years since I was a child that I was super sensitive, intuitive, and able to pick up on spiritual energy or frequencies happening on the simultaneous plane to ours. Okay. Because the spiritual plane is like right on top of the physical plane. It's not separate in any capacity, but that's a conversation for another day. The other question that I get is, how did I come into doing this? So I was working at corporate America. I had a job that at one point I loved, but had become overwhelming. And that job actually resulted in uh, the stress from that job resulted in me becoming sick and actually experiencing not only a ectopic pregnancy that I was just not aware of and so disconnected from, because I was disconnected from my body because I was pushing myself to be productive in my job and to succeed, and my job came first. And so I put my health behind my need to show up at my corporate job. And that resulted in me having an ectopic pregnancy over a decade ago, which resulted in me losing one of my fallopian tubes. That then kind of resulted in me dealing with post traumatic shock disorder that came from my treatment at the hospital, as well as what I had been through. And so I went through some level of mental collapse and um, had to do a lot of inner work in order to move myself forward mentally. And so, mentally, emotionally, physically, I was breaking down because I had put this corporate job ahead of my health. And so, after the surgery, I had woke up, but not woke up. So I was like in a dream and not dream state. And I had seen what I believe was an angel who told me that it was time for me to begin my ministry, and that my ministry wasn't going to look like the ministries I had known, which is something that I had said to a angel in a previous visitation at 5 years old. And so this angel said, it's not going to look like a ministry like anyone else's. It's going to look like a one on one ministry. And that one on one ministry is going to come out of you using a tool or the tools that you have refined over the last 20 years. And I asked, what tools, tarot? And the angel looked at me and smiled and drifted off. And so at that moment, I knew that I was being called to use tarot in the same way that I had used it for myself, which was as a self development tool. I was supposed to use this and help others navigate their lives. And so 8 years ago, I decided to do just that. I left my corporate job. I gave them notice. I did 2 years planning and affirming and getting myself in the proper position so that I could leave and abandon the corporate world. And so I ended up leaving that job and embarking on a spiritual entrepreneurial path, and servicing clients like you, or like someone you may know, and helping them through their navigate through their challenges. And so that is how I got into this work. I got into this work because I felt divinely called to do this work. I felt like I've always been called to help others and serve in this type of capacity. And I know that my gifts are going to take me further and put me in a larger and bigger platform at some point. But for me, this work that I do one on one, this work that I do through providing resource and information on this platform is my ministry or the beginning of my ministry. And so I'm just happy that you have chosen to join me on this journey.